Hey, peace everybody, how you doing? My name is Willie Green. I'm a producer and engineer here in Brooklyn, New York, and we're in my studio, The Greenhouse. And today, for Produce Like a Pro, we're going to talk a little bit about mic setup, how to get the most out of your microphones and your vocal talent. So it seems pretty obvious. You throw the mic on the stand, plug it in, you're pretty much good to go, right? I mean, yeah, that's basic setup, but how do we maximize this to really get the best possible vocal quality? It's all about placement, right? Let's start with the height of the microphone, right? Now, you may have heard me say somewhere else, whenever a vocalist walks into the studio, I want them to be able to walk right into the booth and start recording, right? I want to have everything prepared in advance. Well, how do I know how high to make the vocal mic? If I recorded them before, I may have an idea how tall they are. But if I never recorded them before, here's a really good trick I stole from Carl Napa, a fantastic engineer out of St. Louis. When they first come in the door, you meet them, you know them, maybe you give them a hug, you give them a pound, whatever, look them in the eye and see exactly how tall they are compared to you. Okay, you're just about my height. Well, I'm 6'1", so I can set it up, for myself where it will be good for myself. Oh, you're a bit shorter than me. I can move it down some and just kind of get it in the ballpark. And then when they walk into the booth, I can make minor adjustments, but they're not walking in and the mic is 2 feet above their head, right? But how high is high? How high is the right height? Well, I'm shooting to have the diaphragm of the microphone right pretty much in line with my mouth or higher. Today we've got a Z-Mod Z800 tube mic from ADK. Very nice mic on the stand. This one happens to be hanging upside down just because of the nature of my stand. You don't have to do that, but the most important thing is the diaphragm of the mic, not the body, but the grill, the diaphragm. I want right here in front of my mouth, or maybe even a little bit higher. But what I don't want it down here where the vocalist now is cutting off their wind and cutting off their power because they're crunching their vocal cords, right? I want them performing up and out. If it's a little higher, sometimes you may see pictures of Sinatra at Capitol Records and the U-47's hanging here and he's crooning, he's belting, he's singing up, he's singing out. You never see that microphone down here and he sounds like Kermit the Frog, right? That's not a good vocal sound. So we want up and out. So mouth level, maybe a little bit higher, but we want to keep the vocal cords wide open for the vocalist. Well, how close do we want to get to the microphone? Well, the further back off it you are, you start to get more room sound. You're dealing with more of the environment, right? Like, that's just science. The signal is less direct. We're incorporating all this stuff around us. And if you've got a really nice sounding booth or a really nice sounding room, that might be very cool. But remember, we're also now taking into account all of that room sound, all the ambience around you. As you start to compress that vocal, that room sound is going to come up in your mix. If you want to send that vocal to a delay or to a reverb, all of that room sound now is splashing all throughout your record. That may not be what you want. The closer you get to the mic, the more direct the sound and the less of the ambience around it we're accounting for. Also, when you get closer to that microphone, we get what's called proximity effect. The closer you are to most mics, you get a low-end boost. You get more fullness out of the voice, which can be really, really nice. If you got somebody who's loud, they can back off a little bit. If you've got a real quiet singer who wants to sing some gentle emo stuff, you can go ahead and get them right up on that mic. And now we're close and we're full-bodied and it's an intimate, nice sound, right? And then in the bridge, if they get loud, they can step back. That's mic technique. And so guide your vocalist. Hey, we're coming up on the bridge. Let's punch in here. Step back an inch off the mic. And an inch goes a long, long way. Step an inch back off the mic. Now you can belt that a little bit harder, right? Guide them. Let them know where to be. And one cool thing you can do even before you get started, if you know, okay, I heard the demo. I know this is a belter. This is like a torch song. I want them back off the mic. Position your pop filter there. Move it back here. The vocalist is going to come in and naturally assume, oh, well, they put the pop filter here. I'll start here. right? If we're doing that tender emo song where they need to be a lot closer, move the pop filter in closer. That's going to invite your vocalist to get closer to the mic. We're subconsciously guiding them where we want them to be. Things will change. Vocalists do all kinds of stuff, but at least we can begin with them in the ballpark and subconsciously let them know where we want them to be. So you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, all right, man, that all sounds real good, Green, if I've got a booth, but I've just got a room. How do I adjust the acoustics in that circumstance? Well, there are a lot of little spot acoustic treatments that you can get for your microphone to cut down some of that room sound. Something like this. This is the SE Electronics reflection filter, right? Just goes right around the microphone just like this. There's also the chaotic eyeball. Similar thing, but it's a ball. It goes right down on top of your microphone. So these things can cut out some of the ambience around the room, but it's very important to remember they are going to affect your sound. Microphones are not designed with these acoustic treatments right around them. They're designed in open spaces. So for good or for bad, whether you like the sound of it or don't is totally up to you. It's important to remember these things will change the sound of your mic. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing what you do. Now, there's some of these you have a little bit more control with how much it affects your mic. If it's something like the eyeball, like I said, just goes right down on top of your mic, that kind of is what it is. That's really, the amount of control you have. But with the reflection filter or something similar to that, where it's like the half circle that goes around it, how deep your microphone is into that filter can have a big effect on sound, right? The further it is into that half moon shape, the more room sound is going to eliminate, but the more it's going to affect your microphone because the mic is closer to that acoustic treatment. The further out it is, the less shallow your microphone is getting less coloration from the filter, from the treatment, but it's still getting now more of the room sound that we were trying to eliminate. And so there's a balance. And this is where you use your ears and your taste and your judgment to see what sounds right for you. But it's important to keep all these things in mind. So another huge part of getting a great vocal take is not just the microphone, but it's the headphones. We have to pay attention to what our vocalist is hearing in order for them to give their best performance. I want the headphone mix to sound as close to a finished record as I can to inspire them to give them a better performance. If they put on the headphones and they're hearing all kinds of buzz and crackling and weird stuff, maybe you have a bad cable or there's a clocking issue or something, that's all a no-go, because that's going to distract the vocalist. And instead of rapping their verses, they're going to be thinking, yo, what is that buzz? Is that in the recording? Is that app? Like, what? You want to make sure that your headphone lines are clear and clean, that your mic lines are clear. If you hear a buzz when you're setting up beforehand, swap that cable. Figure out what's wrong with it later on, but swap it out. You don't want to hold up all the momentum of everything chasing down a buzz in the middle of the session. Show up early. Listen to your mic lines. Plug your mic in. Just listen before anybody's in the room. Does it sound clear? Okay, dope. Is there a buzz? Is there a crackle? Well, good thing you're there early. You've got time to run through everything and make sure that your mic line is clean. Okay? So that's one. We want clean signal. We want the balance of the instruments that's in their headphone to feel like the record would feel, right? Maybe the drums sound really good that day. Don't just crank up all the drums out of balance with everything else because it sounds good to you. That's distracting to the singer, right? The most important thing during a vocal session is getting a good vocal take. Everything else is secondary. So get a cue mix, get a headphone mix that is what the artist is looking for and is going to make them feel comfortable, and they will perform better every single time. Also, check with them. Do they want reverb on their voice? Do they want delay? Any kind of effects? Is this a part of the record where maybe there's a telephone voice, so there's a special effect? Does the artist want that in their headphones, or do they just want it dry? Talk to them, see how they're feeling, check in, and see what they want, Some singers perform much better singing into a reverb because it sounds like a finished record. It sounds like what's in their head. But a little pro trick with singers in reverb, reverb can also tend to mask intonation issues, right? If you've got somebody who's a little pitchy and there's lots of verb on there, it just sounds pretty. We got all this stuff going on. If they're having a little trouble with the intonation, subtly bring that verb down just a little bit. Don't take it all the way away because they want it. But if the signal is a little bit drier, they're going to hear their intonation better. And they will probably, hopefully, self-correct their own intonation issues when they can hear the direct signal a little bit better. We can also similarly control how loud or quietly someone is singing with these cue mixes, right? So if I want somebody to push a little bit harder in that bridge, going in the bridge, this is the belt part, we're going in, I may bring their vocal down in the headphones just a little bit. And that little bit where they hear themselves a little bit less, they might push their own volume to compensate for that. And now I'm subconsciously getting them to perform that part louder, more aggressively. On the flip side, if I need them to come down and it's a nice tender moment, maybe I'll bring their level up in their headphones a little bit. Oh, that's louder. Oh, okay, I need to be quiet here. Oh, I sound too loud. Let me break it down. And now I'm in the tender, romantic second verse, right? Subconsciously guide your vocalist to get the performance out of them that you're looking for, right? You don't want to make them uncomfortable and make things seem weird, but little moves, little things can go a long way in making that good vocal a great vocal. So these are just a few little tips and techniques that you can use to really up the level of your vocal recording. Again, it's not just the mic on a stand and let's go. All these little nuances, all these little 1 inch, half-inch moves can really go a long way in giving you a great vocal take. And we know that's what the record is all about, a great vocal. My name is Willie Green. This is Produced Like a Pro, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.